Migi and Dali are two troublesome brothers who get adopted by an elderly couple. Together they pose as one person named Hitori and try to be the perfect child while not giving their foster parents a heart attack. But amidst all this, they've come to investigate a horrible past that haunts them. In December 1989, an elderly couple visited an orphanage home to look for a child to adopt. They got showered with a lot of love from the kids and decided to return the next day. Just then, the woman's beret gets taken by the wind, but it gets caught by a beautiful-looking boy. The boy was so beautiful that I wasn't sure if the animators were confused about what gender to draw. The woman decides to come pick up the hat the next day. A heavy rain begins to pour as they're about to leave, and they see the same boy shielding a puppy from the rain. The boy must have super speed, because how did he get down from the building so fast? The couple then decides to adopt the boy and show him his new room. We learn that his name is Hitori, and the couple starts helping him unpack and decorate the room. Hitori decides he wants to finish up the decoration by himself when his foster father notices a huge box in the room. Is this boy a serial killer? He goes to open the box, and we see a complete replica of him. The two of them then work together to tidy up the room. These two boys might just end up giving this couple a serious heart attack. At the dinner table, they decide to go buy Hitori new clothes. He says he just wants 2 sets of plain clothes, like the one he's wearing. But the mother butts in and says he's not Steve Jobs. Damn, Steve just took a jab for not having an elaborate wardrobe. While his parents serve some extra food, he uses the opportunity to swap places with his twin, who's hiding under the table. The technique they used was carried out too perfectly for someone who's 13 years old. After dinner, they both work together to massage their father's back. At night, they both refer to each other as Migi and Dali while drawing out what looks like a map of the house. The next day, they start out by baking a cherry pie with their mom after eavesdropping on the couple's conversation. They work together like bread and butter to bake the finest cherry pie the streets have ever heard of. After that, one of them gives the father an opportunity to carry him on his shoulders like he has always dreamed of. The father ends up with some injuries because he's a senile old man. The two of them continue to gain the trust of their parents and draw out new plans. Next, we see how these two boys planned and worked out the whole process of their adoption. This couple doesn't even know what they've gotten into. While their foster parents discuss at night, the two brothers go to take a bath. They end up using a long, hard brush to scrub their bodies, but I'm sure that brush is meant for scrubbing steps. Maybe these boys aren't as smart as I thought they were. Their mom comes into the bathroom and nearly catches both of them, but one hides in the water. Migi gets to wear the pajamas for the night while Dali wiggles on the floor like a dying earthworm. Hitori's parents are heading out, and they ask him to stay at home for a bit with their dog named Sardine. With their parents gone, the two brothers go ahead and search the house. They end up playing with some underwear that they find. One of them mistakes it for a kite and tries to fly it around the house. That orphanage home must have really damaged these boys. They search the old man's room and find a picture of his younger self with a different lady. The boys search the last room, which is just a walk-in closet. But they get scared when they find their mom's wigs. When the couple gets back, the boys tail them to a shed outside. Their parents seem to be planning a surprise party for them. But to the boys, it's like a horror story, and they're about to meet their end. I have no idea how they concluded that the couple wants to shave off their hair to make wigs. At the party, the couple introduces their new son, Hitori Sonoyama. On the other hand, these two boys are planning something sinister. Hitori then gets introduced to the Ichijo family. More families are talking with the Sonoyamas. There's a weird boy named Maruta who's obsessed with flag signaling. He was probably dropped on the head as a baby. A guy named Akiyama hands a gift to Hitori as well. Migi and Dali start carrying out their plan by pouring hot sauce into their mother's drink and giving her clear liquor as water to pipe down the spiciness. As if that wasn't enough, they also plan to set them ablaze with olive oil and a magnifying glass. I knew they were serial killers. Dali heats out with the magnifying glass and finds Eiji Ichijo snooping around one of the rooms. He concludes that the Ichijo kid is a weird creep before moving on. The old couple ends up giving Hitori a bicycle. So Migi ends up giving Dali a small burn since their plans got cancelled. After the party, the two boys recount how stupid they were for making assumptions. That night, they both headed out to their real mother's grave. Their mother was murdered in Oregon Village, and they've come there as orphans to get revenge. The old couple tries to get Hitori to join the Boy Scouts until school resumes, but he quickly escapes the suggestions. After that, Migi and Dali discuss how they would infiltrate every home in Oregon to look for clues to their mother's death. The stupid boys end up making the decision to join the Scouts. They plan to make friends so they can have the opportunity to be invited to their homes, where they will investigate. Unfortunately, Miggy and Dolly are dumber than Luffy on an average day because they don't even know how to make friends. Their attempt at finding friends only makes them look desperate and outright crazy. Some guys decide to make fun of Hitori and tell him that they'll be friends on the condition that he walks on a tightrope. Miggy and Dolly start walking on the rope while swapping places when either one falls. Hitori's resolve reminded Akiyama of his past, so he cheered for Hitori to finish the challenge. Unfortunately, the guys still weren't interested in being friends with an orphaned kid. Akiyama then decided to become friends with him. Doing all this just to get one friend is outright sad and cynical. Just like that, Miggy and Dolly got the opportunity to investigate their first house. The two of them get to Akiyama's house according to plan. While Dolly enjoys cherry pie with Akiyama, Miggy goes ahead to start investigating the place. Dolly is definitely treating his brother like some kind of slave. Miggy finds the wall pattern they are looking for in Akiyama's sister's room. It's a wallpaper with water fleas on it. Miggy goes into the room to investigate further and is met with the sister's lovely body sleeping innocently on the bed. Dolly continues to distract Akiyama and ends up giving the very wrong impression. What the hell is wrong with this dude? Miggy doesn't find what he's looking for and starts to leave, but Akiyama's sister quickly grabs him. He ends up being smothered by her huge melons, while Dolly ends up with Akiyama. Those melons should have been in my face. They head over to Maruta's house the next day. This time, Miggy entertains their friend while Dolly goes searching around. Miggy quickly finds out that Maruta is nothing but a buck-toothed, cheating, spoiled brat who should be buried. The twins swapped places for the next round of games, and Maruta got a taste of his own medicine. Hitori ends up leaving the house by evening and leaves Maruta traumatized and a bit more well-behaved. Hitori gets back to the house and meets the family maid, who likes to be called Michan. The maid seems to be a creepy old lady who likes making kids uncomfortable with never-ending questions. Hitori finds out that Michan has cleaned a lot of houses in Oregon, but the maid refuses to share any information about those houses. The twins devise a plan to impersonate their mother with Miggy's good voice acting. While Dolly distracts their mother, Miggy replaces their mother and starts talking to Michan. Miggy finds out that one of the rooms at the Ichijo house has the wallpaper pattern they're looking for. The next day, the brothers dress up together and head to school in sync. If only it was in perfect sync. One of them definitely had a terrorizing leg day after having to cycle his way, while the other just stayed on the school bus. Hitori finds out that he and Akiyama are in the same class, while Eiji is in a different one. While he attends orientation, Hitori finds out that words have already started spreading about his orphaned state. The brothers quickly find out that they have no hope of getting high grades to join Eiji's class. They can't even do basic subtraction. While they discuss in the bathroom, they hear Eiji's voice. One of them comes out to greet him, but Eiji denies knowing who Hitori is. They have no choice but to combine whatever is left of their brain cells to get better grades. While Dolly is trying to figure out a way to get better grades, Miggy is fantasizing about a girl he saw in school. Dolly goes ahead and asks Miggy to get the girl's attention. The girl introduces herself as Sally, and she tells Miggy to only come back to her when he's smart. This stupid Miggy didn't realize that Sally was actually his brother Dolly. Miggy continues to be swayed by his brother's disguise and ends up studying very hard. Sally tells Miggy that she could fall in love with him if he's able to get 100% on his English and Japanese tests. Trust a man who's in love to do the impossible. With his perfect scores, Sally takes Miggy out on a date. Dolly realizes that he can't keep fooling his brother, so Sally tells Miggy that she'll be moving away to somewhere far away. At that moment, the gift Miggy gave her broke into two. Just like his little fragile heart. Miggy returns home in tears because he'll never see his true love again. In school the next day, Eiji finds out about Hitori's scores, and also finds the necklace that Miggy wears. At night, Miggy and Dolly plan how they will search through the Ichijo house. The Sonoyama family gets invited to the Ichijo house to celebrate a Hitori being #1 in the Akrieg class midterms. While the two families discuss, Dolly goes around the place like a silly burglar, looking for clues. Their conversation suddenly shifts when Eiji shows Hitori his jacket with a missing button. That missing button is the necklace, which was given to Miggy by his mother. Yuko tries to defend her son by saying he would never steal anything. Miggy tries to stall with conversation while Dolly sneaks under the table and cuts off the necklace from his brother's neck. By the time Eiji takes off Hitori's clothes, he doesn't find anything. Eiji even goes further to search his undergarments, which were just all forms of wrong. He then calls his dog, Fidelite, to sniff the shirt and find where the button is. The dog corners Dolly under the table, so Miggy confesses to stealing the button to prevent them from finding out about his identical brother. Reiko threatens the old couple with returning Hitori to the orphanage. She then decides to discipline Hitori in the Ichijo house for some time, until she believes he has been steered back to the right path. Well, I guess they can roll the credits now because these are going to be dead soon. Migi ends up in a locked-up room with just his underwear, and Eiji comes along to give him dog food while questioning him. Dolly tries to get Fidelite out of the way and rescue his brother, but the dog is as stubborn as a toddler. Luckily, Dolly and the dog became friends. Migi has seen better days because Eiji dressed this boy up as a baby for some reason. There should have been better ways to hurt his pride. Dolly comes to the door where his brother is being kept and tells him to search the room he's in. Migi then finds the wallpaper they've been looking for and the scribbles they made on it when they were younger. He starts crying like a baby when he sees his mother's writing on the wall, and Reiko comes in to give him some milk. Seriously, what's with the baby treatment? Michan bumps into Dolly the next day since she comes to clean the house for the Ichijo family. They both work together to uncover the secrets in the house and end up finding a hidden chamber. I didn't expect this maid to be obsessed with stuff like this. Inside the chamber, they find a 3D replica of Oregon Town. It looks like the Ichijos have been keeping an eye on everyone in Oregon, and they even have some data about them. When they hear footsteps, Michan hides Dolly in a box and goes back to cleaning up. Dolly saw the doll of Michan with its head ripped off and wondered where the maid had gone. Hunger wasn't helping matters, so Fidelite decided to share its food with him. Remember, my people, never eat dog food, no matter how desperate you are. Dolly goes to inform Migi about what he saw in the hidden chamber. Migi tells him that he'll handle the rest because he has found a way for the Ichijo family to open up to him. Yeah, you couldn't have guessed it. Migi continues with the baby act to get Reiko to tell him about everyone in their house. But the woman wasn't about to fall for such cheap tricks. Rather than think of a different plan, Migi decides to intensify his childish acts to get Reiko's trust. Dolly hears a weird sound while in the study room and rushes to check if his brother is okay. He peeps through the door and sees Migi behaving like a fool at his big age. Migi's methods work out, and he's now able to join the family at the dinner table. Hitori has now become the baby brother of Eiji and Karen Ichijo. He starts asking different questions like an annoying child, while the Ichijo family tries to keep calm and answer him. The questions kept coming, and Dolly was taking note of their different reactions as they answered. Eiji nearly makes Migi break character, but Dolly comes to his rescue. After dinner, Reiko decides that the conditioning program is complete and Hitori will be returning to his family the next day. The brothers go over the information they have, which includes their mother who worked as a maid in the Ichijo house before she died. One of them poses as a ghost of their dead mother, Metri, and appears before Akira Ichijo. With Akira's actions, they find out that Metri is his mistress, and he would have acted differently if he were the one who killed her. They do the same thing to Reiko, and she screams like a banshee. She then goes to get a pair of scissors to use and kill Metri. But the brothers luckily escape when Akira comes to confront Reiko. As the brothers head back, they encounter Eiji, who pees his pants and runs away like he had just seen a ghost. So, that means Eiji is the true serial killer? Hitori returns home, and his parents celebrate having their son back. Migi swaps places with his brother Dolly, who is dying of hunger. For some reason, Akiyama was in their house, like he belonged there. Who invited this guy? Migi and Dolly conclude that Eiji was the one who killed their mother. So, they decide to look for a way to interrogate him. Migi heads off to school as Hitori, while Dolly dresses up as Sally to confront Eiji about their mother's death. If this Ichijo kid falls for this cheap disguise, you'll know he's the dumbest kid in town. Then again, Dolly's own silly brother even fell for it. While Eiji is having lunch, his classmates start asking him what kind of woman he likes. He finds the conversation irrelevant, and he leaves, only to end up in the bathroom, and he starts throwing up as the images of Metri haunt his mind. Sally confronts him in the bathroom and starts running away, but Eiji manages to catch up to her. Who the hell drags a woman's hair? He offers her money, but she rejects it and says she just wants to see his more embarrassing sides. Now, why would you reject money? Kids these days are something else. Eiji ends up showing his childhood pictures to Sally, and she scans them. After that, she demands that he tell her more about his childhood later. While Akiyama carries Migi to their next class, Migi sees the other half of the necklace he gave Sally. It seems she dropped it after her encounter with Eiji. Dolly tries to convince Migi that Sally went out of town, but the stupid brother starts putting up missing posters for her. How desperate can you even be? Eiji goes to meet up with Sally, and Migi tails him. Poor Migi gets his heart shattered when Sally tells him that she's dating Eiji. Dolly is really being cruel to his brother. Migi continues weeping like a baby at home while Sally gets invited to Eiji's house. Sally tries to get Eiji in bed with her so she can hypnotize him. But Eiji is proving to be quite the dense boy. Eiji feels like they're supposed to have their first kiss before he can lie beside her. So Dolly does the unthinkable and kisses him. The information he's looking for had better be worth it. Eiji finally falls under Sally's hypnosis, and she begins getting information out of him. Migi shows up to ruin the party, and Eiji pushes him off the edge of the window. Sally catches him, but he bites her hand and runs away. I thought this guy was in love. Pushing Migi gave Eiji a flashback after that, and he remembered how he pushed Metri and killed her the exact same way. Reiko was able to convince him that he saw a ghost when it happened. With this information, Dolly runs back to his brother so they can finally get their revenge. Unfortunately, when Dolly gets back, Migi finds the bite mark he gave Sally and says he'll never forgive his brother. Migi ends up going to stay at Akiyama's place after finding out what Dolly did. He has to slither out of bed when Akiyama brings him food, and he eats like a handicapped earthworm. Dolly comes over to see his brother, which gives Akiyama the impression that Hitori has some serious brain issues. Akiyama is sent on a tea errand while Dolly tries to talk to Migi, but things aren't working out between them. When Akiyama gets back, Dolly uses him as a medium to talk to his brother, who's hiding in the closet. Unfortunately, it gets mixed up, and Akiyama starts telling him to set himself free and be his true self. Migi then throws Dolly into the closet and comes out. Yeah, not that kind of coming out of the closet. He tells Dolly that he's done taking orders and that he has also given up on revenge. After that, he sets out with Akiyama on a bike ride and leaves his brother to carry on their mother's wish. Also, Akiyama needs to be arrested for whatever the hell he's wearing. Dolly gets back home and is greeted by a worse costume that his mother wants him to wear for Halloween. After hearing that Eiji would be coming for the event, he decides to go on with it. At the same time, Dolly is having a hard time posing as Hitori alone, without his brother. Now, he has to overfeed himself and throw up in the toilet later. Despite the struggles, Dolly decides to still push on alone. The Halloween event comes up, and Dolly gets on stage with his mosquito costume. Instead of trying to suck blood, he ends up spraying it around the audience like a mosquito that has forgotten its basic function. At least it wasn't real blood. The crowd ends up booing him for his display, and Eiji gets on stage next. Eiji just stood on stage like a traumatized little child. Then Dolly started going around and spreading rumors so that Eiji could win the costume contest. I have no idea what he said, but it worked. Everyone started throwing money at Eiji, and he was announced the winner. Or so they thought. Eiji refuses to sit on the throne and remains lost in thought. So they declare someone else the winner. Is it really that easy to win something in this town? It ends up being Migi who was chosen as the winner's replacement, and he heads to the throne, where Dolly has already set a trap. Dolly rushes to stop his brother from getting killed, but Eiji runs into the trap and saves Migi. Because of that, Eiji ends up in the hospital. Eiji gets out of the hospital, and Migi decides to dress up as Sally this time and go see him. Eiji asks his mom to give him and Sally some privacy, but Reiko isn't about to let her son learn naughty things. She leaves but stays by the door to keep an eye on them. Eiji then tells Sally that he saved Hitori because he wanted to atone for his sins. After sending his mom on an errand, he takes Sally to see the 3D replica of Oregon Village that Reiko keeps. He confesses about killing Metri and says how his mom uses the replica to keep an eye on everyone in town so that his secret is kept safe. He tells her that Hitori could be in serious danger since his mom suspects that the boy knows the truth. Now, Migi has realized that he has been a stubborn and stupid little brother all this while. Reiko suddenly shows up after her errand and catches them. Eiji tries to slow down his mother so that Sally can escape. But Reiko grabs her hair and Migi's wig comes off. From her eyes, you can already see how psychotic Reiko is. Migi ends up hiding in Karen's room, but Reiko tries to barge in. Luckily, Karen helps him and tells her mother that she is just playing with her dolls, so she should leave. After that, Karen tells Migi that Reiko isn't actually her or Eiji's mother. They've just been living under the pretense of a happy Ichijo family. Reiko suddenly gets a revelation and sprints to the Sonoyama house while chanting the word kill repeatedly. Aside from her deranged attitude, how did she sprint in those heels? While having tea with Hitori's parents, it seems she put something in it, which made the couple slowly pass out. Karen tells Migi that he has to leave Oregon Village. Migi rushes back home to see his parents passed out on the couch. He goes to his room and sees Dolly tied up with a bag over his head. He tries to set him free, but Reiko quickly shows up and ties him up too. Reiko decides to kill one of them and let the other one live, so Dolly decides to be the one to die. Now, he wants to act like a big brother. Reiko slowly starts choking him out, but she stops and starts coughing. Just then, Michan shows up to save the day. She tells them how Karen saved her when Reiko buried her alive, and she was able to meet Karen's real mother. It's then revealed that Reiko can't bear children. No wonder she's so jealous of any woman who can perform basic biological functions. Reiko and Michan get into a fight, and Reiko seems to be very good at handling the staff. Michan is able to free the boys, and just as she is about to tell them who Eiji really is, Reiko slices her neck and kills her. Migi and Dolly make a run for it to save themselves. They escape to a shrine, and Dolly quickly wants to make that place their new home. He goes ahead to throw away the bike they got, but Migi goes to save it. The two brothers get into a serious fight, but they eventually make up and head back into town. Back at the Soniyama home, it looks like Hitori has been framed for the murder of Michan. Migi and Dolly realize they can't go back home until they prove their innocence and expose Ichijo's secret. Hitori goes to Akiyama's place to ask him for help. As soon as Akiyama sees him, he hugs him like some sort of prodigal son. This guy gives me the creeps. Hitori explains the whole situation to him, and Akiyama agrees to help. Migi then tries to talk Dolly into exposing himself and telling him to stop hiding in the closet, since he believes that Akiyama wouldn't have any problem with both of them. All this closet talk, and I still feel Akiyama is the one hiding inside. Akiyama comes back to the room with Maruta, who immediately sees Hitori, the murderer, and makes a run for it. Migi quickly traps the fat beaver before he makes anything worse. Maruta turns them into his beaver minions, and they work together to get Karen on their side. Maruta tries to deliver a letter to her with a toy helicopter, but the controller breaks. He then uses the streetlight and communicates with her in Morse code. How did these kids even have the time to learn Morse code? After that, they head to a treehouse to plan how to take Karen as a hostage since she's locked up in her room. Migi and Dolly finally reveal themselves, and the other guys lose it. Akiyama literally turns into a bird's brain and starts sounding like a broken record. Maruta and Akiyama finally calm down and agree to keep the secret of the brothers. After that, Akiyama acts as a decoy to draw the police's attention while the rest sneak into Karen's room. While crawling on a rope, they notice a lot of barbed wires on the ground. This makes Maruta really scared, so Migi just has to push his fat butt into the room. Dolly was about to fall since the branch that the rope was tied to broke off. But his dear brother came to his rescue. They get back into the room to see Maruta trying to lay it down on Karen. That damn stupid beaver boy. Anyway, in order to carry out their plans, they head to where Eiji is while Karen distracts her dad. They plan to use Eiji as a hostage to get Reiko. When they enter the room, they meet Eiji in a state that has scarred Maruta for life. Yeah, the entire Ichijo household is psychotic. The plan completely goes wrong when Maruta makes a big noise at the wrong time, thanks to Fidelite. Luckily, he still finds a way to corner her as Migi and Dolly hold Eiji hostage. Maruta is filming the whole thing while the brothers ask her to confess to her crimes. Reiko then takes a seat to tell the tale of Metri, whom she refers to as a devil. We see a glimpse of the past, to when Metri was just employed as a maid. Reiko was still a nice woman and hadn't become the devil's incarnate yet. Reiko guided her through everything, and Metri saw her as a sister. It all happened when Reiko got the news that she wouldn't be able to conceive. The same Reiko then tells Metri to lay with Akira so she will be able to give them a child. Do you see how crazy this is already sounding? Reiko slowly lost her mind as she watched her maid get railed by her husband. Soon enough, she saw Metri as a part of herself and didn't see anything wrong with what was going on. Reiko finally snapped when she saw her husband tell Metri that he wanted her and not his wife. Eventually, Eiji came to be born, and Reiko believed that her barrenness was a curse from Metri, and it was lifted when the boy was born. After the story, Reiko rushed to get Eiji from Migi and Dolly. Unfortunately for her, Eiji pushed her away just like he did to Metri, and he finally realized something. He turns to Miggy and Dolly and tells them that he's their brother. That's when we see that Metri actually gave birth to the three of them. But Reiko faked a pregnancy and collected Eiji from her. This woman really went crazy. How do you even think of doing such a thing? After that, Metri had to take care of just Miggy and Dolly until the night she was killed by her son, Eiji. Dolly doesn't believe that they could be related to someone who killed their mother. After they tell Eiji that he killed their mother, he starts looking bizarre. He takes Reiko, and they head out. Akira comes out of the room to meet the brother and Maruta, who introduces himself as Karen's boyfriend. The audacity of this guy. They hear Reiko scream and go see her in a room where she pretends to be dead. Reiko then locks all of them up and decides to start over again with Eiji. As they prepare to leave, Eiji stabs Reiko and sets the house ablaze. Finally, the crazy woman is gone. Inside the confined room, Karen tells Akira how he was so blindsided and didn't notice the mental patient he had as a wife for so long. So much for being a doctor. They tried breaking down the door when they noticed the house was burning but had no luck. Luckily, Akiyama comes to rescue them, and he saves the day. With his help, they all jump out of the house with a table used as a support for the window. Murata was a scaredy cat but immediately jumped as soon as Karen persuaded him. The things we do for love. Akiyama jumped last and landed with Fidelite. Poor Fidelite was about to become a fresh barbecue because of his crazy family. After that, Akiyama tells them that Eiji is still inside, and it looks like he is trying to go down with the house. Eiji lays beside the dead body of Reiko, while Dolly rushes in to save him. Dolly confronts Eiji and says that he hates him because he thinks he and Eiji are very alike. Migi shows up with his butt on fire. He's really the most clueless one out of the three of them. They try to escape with Eiji, but end up falling into the flames. The spirit of Mikin shows up to help them in the smoke. That woman is the real MVP of this show. Thanks to Dolly's stubbornness, they save Eiji and leave the house. Eiji then goes to the police and confesses his crimes, and so he's taken away. Thanks to Maruta's videotape and Akira, Eiji's juvenile sentencing was reduced. Dolly decides to keep living in Migi's shadow since he doesn't want to be seen again. Thanks to the burning incident, he now has a scar on his face, which can be used to tell the difference between him and Migi. So Migi continued his life as Hitori, while Dolly operated behind the scenes. Either he's a very sad older brother, or he thinks he's some kind of cool spy. Migi gets to talk with Akiyama, and he says that he's tired of being Hitori and wishes he and Dolly could just be themselves. Migi gets back home and has a family Christmas dinner with his parents, while Dolly remains under the table. After dinner, Dolly has a nightmare where he sees himself being abandoned by everyone while he remains under the table. He wakes up the next morning and notices two presents. When their parents come in, they tell Migi that they've always known about the two of them. You really can't fool old people. Migi and Dolly finally reveal themselves to their parents, and they all enjoy breakfast on Christmas morning. It's like one of those fairy tale endings. In March 1993, we see Migi, Dolly, and everyone else as they've grown up. The brothers head inside to help their mother make a pie, and the ghost of Michan is still sticking around and helping them. Suddenly, there's no one afraid of ghosts. Is this all normal? Anyway, they get visited by Eiji and Karen, who have also grown up. Migi gets Dolly to dress up as Sally once again, but Eiji just laughs at him. Dolly feels embarrassed and quickly returns to his place under the table. At this point, that has to be his comfort zone. After that, the three brothers go to their mother's grave to show Eiji where she's been laid to rest. Dolly then heads off to a faraway school to study, while Migi remains behind to become an artist. Despite the distance, the two brothers will always be close at heart and remain Migi and Dolly. That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content.